Hey, and welcome to another amazing show. I welcome you. My name is Ronnie Jacobs. I'm the presenter for the Ronnie J Show. And today we're going to have a very, very exciting and fantastic topic. I got some amazing guests, so we're going to go right into it. But first of all, I want to give you like a little background to this, okay? Today we're going to talk about how could couples discuss and talk about sex issues, okay? So I'm not going to kind of give my guests some hints, but we're just going to go through a few of the questions that we said we're going to talk about, and then hopefully we can learn. The essence of this show is for us to educate each other, it's for us to learn from one another, and then for us to motivate ourselves to achieve our dreams. If your home is at peace, if you're in a fantastic relationship where you have an open discussion about your sex life and all is well, fantastic. Let's learn together, okay? I'm really excited about this one, and I'm looking forward to having a great time. So I'll give our first guest a call, Mr. Tunde Bella. Let's talk about intimacy. How should we have this conversation at home? You know, should it be should we be open to talk about it? You know, let's dig into the matter. And where is Mr. Bella? Where are you? Okay, the clock's ticking. Okay, and let's see.
Hello.
Hi, hello, Tunde. How are you? You live on air? How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Ronnie?
I am buzzing, and all the guests and everyone's excited, waiting to hear your views.
Oh, wow.
Great stuff. Tell our audience about you first before we crack on.
So my name is Tunde, Tunde Bella.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a healthcare practitioner. I'm an event host. I'm shy. No, that was just a joke. That was just a joke.
I know.
I host fashion shows, weddings, birthday parties. Yeah, I'm a very homely person. Family oriented.
Fantastic. Right, today we're having an open discussion about intimacy. How should couples deal with these issues? How should they have a conversation about it? And my first question goes to you. You know,
Yeah.
What do you feel about this conversation, this topic? First of all, what's your view on the topic before we go into it?
I think intimacy, especially during this time of the lockdown, is something that most couples will have to address, whether they like it or not. Because you're except you are an essential worker, you most likely be at home.
Okay, correct.
Hello? So it's sorry, my son was knocking on the door.
Okay,
let's just to avoid the distraction.
All right.
So intimacy, I think that it's something that should be addressed, because most homes that have peaceful have probably the intimacy sorted out in various ways. Intimacy means different things to different people, you see. So I think it's an important issue that has been overlooked so much because we've not been trapped in the same space probably before. So this is the first time in our lives that some of us are just being told to stay at home and we cannot just go anywhere. So and if you're in a relationship, there are two ways to it. Some people who are not in a relationship, some feel lonely. But if you have a relationship, companionship is quite an integral part of survival in a period like this. So
we're talking about sex. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. It's like you're painting you're trying to be politically correct. I'm getting
no. I'm trying to give an overview to it.
Okay. My apologies.
So when it comes to because you wanted to hear my opinion about it before we go into the specific questions you want me to answer.
Correct.
So my overview is that in a period like this, intimacy will be addressed. I was saying the people who are single, they have other ways of satisfying or meeting their intimacy needs, because we all have needs, you know.
True,
so that's why it means different things to different people. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, so for the basis of this conversation, I'm trying to stick with the couples
Yeah.
So let's stick with couples, irrespective of what the sex is. We're just sticking with couples. So
Okay.
first questions will be: do couples' sexual problems stem from the difficulties in discussing the subject?
Um, so this has to do with various cultural beliefs, various upbringings. When you get into a relationship,
Mm,
uh, a lot of times you bring your upbringing with you into the relationship. You bring your culture into it.
mm,
So culture frown on, no, I wouldn't say frown on, because there's no proof that they frown on it,
mm,
but they just don't encourage discussing about intimacy. So I'll say sexual relationships, really. So say for example, I'm African, so I know
yeah,
about the African lot.
yeah.
Most of the times the man comes,
Mm-hmm,
makes an advance
mm-hmm,
to the woman, and the woman just complies. She's expected to comply because
mm,
it's more like a conjugal duty, like a marital duty.
mm,
However, those kind of relationship tends to have a strain, especially in a time like this, because sometimes the wife doesn't want to have sex.
mm,
The husband has asked her for sex.
mm,
Then it becomes like, oh, it's my marital duty. I do it anyway. So a lot of times they don't get to talk about it.
yeah.
So it tends to have an impact. In my own opinion, sexual relationship in a relationship should be discussed. How do you want it? When do you want it? What frequency? You should understand. A lot of parameters comes into it. Don't just expect the man to just call the woman and say, "Come on, let's have sex," and you should just expect her to. The woman can make moves too,
Mm,
you know.
mm.
So yeah, that's
Is that
so. It
within
might,
the culture though, for the woman to make moves based on the example that you're given at the moment?
yeah, yeah. So a successful way to handle this would be to de-emphasize your upbringing and cultural beliefs,
Yeah.
because they do not act. There's no one rule fits all for relationship,
Mm,
uh, sexual relationship.
mm-hmm,
So I would say probably adopt what works for you.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Discussion is a very good thing. It helps you know what you're feeling, how you're feeling, what your expectations are. So I think a lot of problems will be resolved if there's a discussion about sexual needs and sexual expectations. So that will probably help resolve any problems around that.
Yeah. So based on, uh, thank you so much for that. I mean, we're still talking. So
Mm.
should couples compare the relationships sexually?
Uh, that is the worst thing one can do. That is the worst thing one can do, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses.
Mm,
A lot of times people tend to compare their sexual performance to
yeah.
what they see on the TV, probably
Mm,
what they see
mm,
on what do you call this blue films, this
yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. X-rated films and all that. Yeah.
films. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, a lot of times those things are made uh, at intervals, so it
Mm,
sometimes breaks in between,
mm,
and then the thing comes in and it looks like it's continuous.
mm, mm,
And there are other ways you can well, because some people can last forever,
mm,
um,
mm.
but the woman might not be enjoying it.
Correct. Mm.
So sometimes it's not about how
Or the other way
long.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's about the quality of the time you spend together, the quality of the sexual
mm.
experience.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. Mm,
Because for some ladies, you might just need to just pay attention more to their nipples.
mm,
Some ladies, you might need to pay attention more to their clitoris. Some ladies don't even want that much of penetration. So it's all about, but back to the essence of having a discussion. When you talk about it, you know the expectation of your partner,
mm,
and how to approach and how to. Sometimes you might even start from the morning, and
mm.
you plan to have sex at night. You might probably just be nice words. Oh, you're looking great.
Mm.
Compliments. Help with the household.
I don't know if that's a good thing though. You're supposed to be nice all the time. Not that I am,
No,
but
no,
I'm
no.
just.
Yeah, yeah, but especially when on
Yeah.
on the day you want,
Yeah.
you want her, because the thing is, stress is you know everywhere.
Correct. Correct.
The way we deal with it matters.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the mornings, oh, you look good today, happy mood, that's
Amazing, amazing.
that,
Thank you so
Oh,
much, Mr. Tun. Sorry, I have to cut you up. We've got like
no,
six
no,
guests
I get you.
today, so you've opened the show in a brilliant way, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Bye. Wow, what a way to open the show, eh? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, let's go for our next caller. We got the fantastic Claire, and let's see how we're doing. Today we're talking about how should couples deal with this issue of sex. How should they have this conversation? How should they resolve this issue before it escalates and breaks the home and causes more problems? There needs to be a way for us to fix it. Hi Claire, you're live on air. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Amazing, amazing day. We are crashing on today,
Well, listen, it's lovely to hear your voice, Ronnie, and it's nice to hear that you're on the mend, sounding
Yes.
fit and strong again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, nice and strong. Please tell our audience about you, please, our viewers.
So I'm a transformational coach, mum of two, happily divorced. What more do you want me to say?
I like that part. Happily divorced. Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness for lockdown. I'm locked down with the right person, yes.
Good topic, good start.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
So we're talking about how should they deal with sex issues? What's your view on the topic before we go into the questions?
Well, it's very tricky, isn't it? And I think it depends on, on a little bit on how you were brought up and what kind of conversations you had or you overheard as a family. My parents were quite closed about those kinds of things. So for me, it made it harder to talk about that kind of thing with my partner. But I mean, I think it depends. You learn from experience, don't you, as you get older? I know that with my partner, who I'm with now, we met through online dating, right? And so, as you kind of get older and wiser, and time is more of an issue, like you don't want to kind of waste time with the wrong person, right?
Correct.
You tend to get round to these nittier-grittier conversations a bit quicker, I think. Right, especially if it's not somebody that's a childhood sweetheart who you've known for 20 or 30 years. Like if after a divorce or something like that, when you are going out dating and you maybe haven't done for many years, it can be very daunting. But actually, you have to have these kinds of conversations, to work out what people's values are, to work out, what they think about their kids and your kids, or if they want kids and all that kind of stuff. And, also talking about, sex and monogamous relationships. And, one of the questions that I remember discussing with my partner on, it wasn't our first date, but it was quite early on, was, what is his attitude around open relationships? Because this is something, there isn't necessarily like everybody has to have the same kind of relationship. And I thought it was really important to get that out on the table, because for me, that isn't something I'm very good at, right? I like to think I would be, but I'm not. And whereas if I was with somebody who didn't consider that, the norm or whatever, this is going to obviously bring up friction later on. So I think it is important to get your cards on the table quite quickly, to be honest. Yeah.
So do you kind of plan that? So whoever's watching, do they plan that ahead and say, okay, for example, the people who are married now who just don't have that kind of conversation?
No, you wouldn't need to have that. If you've been married 20 years, like that's not going to be on, that's not necessary, unless it's a bit like, how can we spice up our relationship? Do you know what I mean?
So what if you've been, for 20 years, she's just been he or she just not been enjoying their sexual relationship, but they're just being kind of quiet just for peace to reign?
Yeah, well, I have got a very interesting thing which I can discuss with you very, very quickly in the allotted time.
Yeah, go ahead.
The people can look up, and this is called the 5 love languages. Now, I don't know if you've heard of love languages, but this can be something that can be used very easily to spice up already a relationship that you may have been in for many years. And it can also be something that can be used at the start of a new relationship to be able to get to kind of know what makes your partner tick quicker, right? So this is something that's been created by a guy called Gary Chapman. This isn't a thing I've made up. You can Google it. You can buy his book. You can do the quiz. It's brilliant. But there are basically 5 love languages, and everybody has one which is stronger than the other 4. And so one of the languages is words of affirmation. So some people need to hear, I love you, you're amazing, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Some people need to hear that a lot more than others.
Yeah.
Now, if you're somebody who needs to hear that, but you're with a partner who hasn't got that love language, then you may be getting disgruntled going, oh, you never tell me you love me. And then they're saying, well, you know I do. And you're like,
Yeah.
but I need to hear it, right? So that can be where there can be a little sticking point. Another love language is quality time. So that means no TV, no chores, no cell phone, actually giving that person your undivided attention. Now, I've realized that's my key one, right? Even if I'm having a conversation about, something totally unrelated to love life, but if I want my partner to listen, I don't want him multitasking, unloading the dishwasher, feeding the cat. It's like,
you want all the full attention at that time.
Stop and listen to me because I'm trying to tell you something important, right? So, so that's another thing. Another one is acts of service, right? So, for example, some people, they get like turned on, so to speak, if their partner does something without them asking, right? Like making the bed or mowing the lawn or hoovering or making a dinner. And they're like, oh my God, I love it that you've done that.
I know. The first guest talked about that, how you can set it all up from the morning. But
that's right. But the thing is, what people who've got acts of service as a love language have got to realize that the person they're with may not be able to read their minds, right? So the best thing you can do is the one who is doing the chores, doing the acts of service can say, what would you like me to do to make your life easier, right? And then the other person can actually literally give them a list and say, well, any of these things would be fabulous, and allow them to choose, right? Even if they just do one thing a week. Then you're like, oh, I love that you've done that. You've thought of me. You know that by doing that, it makes my life easier. That can be very powerful, right? Especially in lockdown when everyone's juggling so many things.
I know.
Yeah. The other one, of course, is physical touch. Now, some people are very touchy-feely. They like to hold hands or a little pat on the back. I'm not talking about, clitoral stimulation here. I'm talking about just a gesture, right?
Yeah.
Whereas people don't necessarily need that. So I know, for example, if I get very caught up in what I'm doing, in doing my work or doing my coaching, if my partner comes in and just gently kind of touches my neck and brings me a little cup of tea, I'm like, oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And that completely shifts my vibration, right? So I think the thing is, it's about knowing what love language turns your partner on and what love language you need to receive, because the final one is receiving gifts. Now, some people love to receive gifts, right? And some people love to give gifts. Now, obviously, at this time, it's maybe a little bit harder to book nice holidays and spa days and things. But even if it's just making a little box with some trinkets or some treasures or a love note in, right? It's the thought that goes into it. As a parent, when you get that first card that your kids made with the stick, and and you're like, oh my God, I love that. It melts your heart, right? So some people love to receive gifts. Now, often when men go wrong, and I don't mean to be sexist, but you've had an argument with your significant other, right? You go out, you buy the flowers, or you buy some nice shoes or a handbag, or you book a restaurant or something, and it falls flat, right? Because the lady doesn't watch. She's like, what, you palming me off with gifts now, right?
I mean, all the men could just cringe and just nodding their head. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, and that is because you're not responding to her love language. You're responding in a way that is your love language. Actually, if you'd simply said to her, okay, let's just sit down and have a conversation. I'm going to really listen to what you're saying. If she's one of those quality time people, boom, that's all she wants. She doesn't need the gift, right? Or if she likes the acts of service and you say to her, listen, we were so stressed, we had that argument. You must be really tired. Listen, tell me what I can do to make life a little bit easier for you. If she gives you a few things and you do one of those, well, it could save you loads of money because you don't need to buy the gift.
Amazing. We've got 1 minute left. You want to summarize, should couples compare their sexual relationship with others?
Well, I mean, you know me by now in the conversations that we've had. Comparison kills creativity.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't compare. Don't compare your kids. Don't compare your partner. There's nothing worse than on a girls' night out, everyone sitting around after a few Chardonnays comparing their partners. No,
It's horrible.
That will kill everything.
100%. 100%.
Right?
Thank you so much, Claire. Always a pleasure and always a bubbly self.
All right. Take care.
It's a pleasure. Speak to you next week, darling. Bye. Oh, it's heating up. We're having a great time. We're talking about a very, very interesting topic. We're talking about sex today. We're talking about couples having that conversation, having an open conversation about it. Should the couple say to the other couple, "Oh, how can you make it better?" Should they plan the frequency? Should they plan the time? Or is it going to be spontaneous all the time? What's the way? I know everyone's different, but we're learning. Number one, we've learned today: do not compare. Don't compare your relationship with others. That's 100%. And also try and find out what exactly your partner likes that would get them excited or interested.
Hello.
Hi, Jojo. You're live on air. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
I am buzzing. We're having a very, very interesting conversation today. It's lovely. So tell our viewers about you before we start, please.
Okay, my name is Ayertey, but everyone knows me as Jojo. I'm the CEO of Ethnic Warriors. I'm a mother of 3 kids, a wife to Joseph. We've been married for 14 years now and been together for 15.
Fantastic. So today we're talking about how couples could deal with sexual issues. So what's your take on the topic first before I ask you any specific question?
It's communication, really. Communication. I can't stress that enough. Communication. Because
how do we have that communication? That's the cocoa of the matter now.
Yeah, it may be a bit awkward, but the thing is, I know there's this thing about us women. Maybe I don't want to generalize too much, but there are some women that we usually think our man should know that this is what I like, or should know this is what turns me on, or should know that this is, if he does this, then I will not be in the mood. Without communicating and without telling your partner, telling your husband that this is what I like, this is how I like it, how will he know? There's no way he will know. It may be awkward, but you have to set the scene, set the mood, and try and bring it up. Otherwise, you may just be suffering in silence, not knowing that he's not doing the right thing.
Yeah. Some women may think, if I start talking to my husband about this issue, he might start thinking I am this sex-hungry person. Or are you with me?
But why not? Sexual feeling is not meant for the man alone, is it? It's for the two. It's for the two of you. For the two of you to enjoy. It's that God created it to be enjoyed by both, not just the man. And if you are not fulfilled, then it will seep into other corners or other areas of your marriage. Get what I mean?
Yeah.
If you are disgruntled, if you are not enjoying it, if you are not satisfied, if you are not happy in that aspect of the relationship, it will seep in without even you realizing it. You'll be disgruntled, you'll be unhappy, and you know when a woman is unhappy in marriage, there's no peace in the house. You know that, don't you?
Of course.
There's no peace in the house. So I know it's a very, very. It could be awkward. That is why now this discussion is about people that are already together.
Yes.
If there's any single person out there that's listening, that is why you need to marry your friend, someone you are free with, someone you can talk to. If your husband or your partner has a certain smell, you'll be able to tell them without feeling awkward. That is why you should be with someone that you are free with, very, very free with. But if you are not and you've already found yourself in that situation, there's really nothing you cannot do with practice. You just have to close your eyes and start that conversation. And you never know, maybe your partner is waiting. All this while maybe thinking that, okay, we are doing it the right way, or we are happy and not knowing that you are not happy. It could be either the man or the woman, because it's not just one-sided.
Yeah.
You know, it could be the man. Maybe the man wants it much more than the woman, or the woman's libido is higher than the man's, and because she's a woman, she wants to kind of pull back. You know, it's communication. With communication, you can conquer a lot of issues in marriage and the relationship. With communication, you just have to set the mood. You just have to bring it up gently and nicely, gracefully, and you see that your partner will listen.
Is it okay to compare in your back of your mind from your previous relationship and compare with your current one?
Not at all. That is because we are all unique in our different ways. You know, it is very, very terrible to compare your relationships. You know, or even compare with your past relationships. Although consciously, one or two things may come up, but I want to believe that the person that you are now with is because that's the best person that you dated. That's why you decided to stay with that person. You know, so if thoughts like that should come up, I believe the best way is to squash it immediately.
I'll give a short statement. I recently had a word with a couple whereby one of the couples makes reference to how the husband is not doing it as well as her previous ex-boyfriend, and that's causing a big problem in their home at the moment. And the husband heard. She's telling the husband that, listen, man, you see, it will now make the man always feel whenever they are together, the man will always feel that they are in competition. And probably end up not satisfying her because he's doing everything the wrong way. And the best thing, that woman is brave. It's really affecting their home at the moment, and whoever's watching, this is a true story, and I think mentally it has affected the man, and mentally it definitely will. He's just becoming very suspicious and thinking that maybe if I'm not good enough, then let me go look for somebody else that will appreciate me the way I am. That's where they are at the moment. Yeah. And although she's saying I'm sorry, but it's just difficult. It's difficult to get past that. When you say something that you think I just said it, maybe I think it would change him, but you know. The woman, she puts herself in the man's shoes. She puts herself in the man's shoes. It will take a long time to heal, but if they work hard at it, they can move past that. Yeah. All they have to do is sit down and talk it out. She should tell him how she wants it. It's simple communication. Tell him how she wants it. And then if the guy is willing, then they should be able to pass that hurdle. Okay, the last question. It's never a good thing to do, never. We still got 2 minutes, so one more question. Now, if one of the couples realize that the other couple is not satisfying them or not good enough or whatever phrase you want to phrase it, should they come out bluntly and say, listen, man, you're rubbish at this thing, man. I'm really not enjoying this. No, it shouldn't be blunt at all. It shouldn't be blunt. You know, there are ways you do things, especially when you know it's sensitive. If it's the man that is not satisfying the woman, and then the woman can tell the man that they can just book a weekend away. Book a weekend away. She can read books. There are many books that can help. You can read books. Encourage the man to read some of these books. Or you can read magazines. Then go a weekend away and say, can we try something? Let's try this. Let's do role play. This is how I like it. This is how I want it. See, and once again, it's still about communication. If you are not telling your partner that you are not satisfied, there is no way he or she will know. There is absolutely no way she will know. He will know.
So you just have to come out with it. Although not bluntly, not by saying you are rubbish at this, or not by saying I'm not satisfied at all. You can say, oh, I know you do try. Or you probably don't, I don't reach the climax. Can we try it this way? I'm sure the partner, when it's done lovingly, will want to try. Because lovemaking is a give and take. So if only one part is just taking, and later realize that he or she is the only one taking, they will not be happy because we want both of them, you want both of you to enjoy it and find that bonding in it. So it's something that they should talk about. It will be awkward, it will be difficult, but it's just something you have to bring up. Otherwise, you will be miserable. You just have to bring it up.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jojo. Always a pleasure listening to your honesty and your experience in relationship and marriages. I wish you all well. And
thank you.
And give my love to your husband and your kids, okay?
Thank you.
No worries.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you. Ethnic royals in the house. Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. All right, fantastic. We are learning a lot today. We're talking about having quality time together. We're talking about making sure that you have an open conversation, you have a good discussion about things like this. And she mentioned something that was really good. She talked about, okay, I'm trying to call DGV Stars. It's a long distance call all the way in Nigeria. So I'm hoping that it would connect. So let me try to call again, and so we can. So she talked about having an open conversation, making sure that I'm doing this, and I'm just remembering something. I think 2 shows ago, and Hanan said to me, I need to be able to multitask. It's a typical thing of men, We have to do 2 things at the same time. So it's a challenge. So we talked about making sure that you. I'll just do this. We talked about quality time together. We talked about having an open conversation, and to make sure that we have an understanding within one another. And she talked about it always helps when you finally settle down with somebody who's a friend and somebody who you love and that you can have a conversation with. So one of the biggest things that I notice, okay, we've got another caller. We've got Agnes Waits next, but I'll give her a call. Before we do that, I just want to have a little conversation. One of the biggest challenges that I notice from people that I talk to or people that I give advice or counseling to is that they're just kind of in the back of their head. One person presumes or assumes that the other person would know what the one person is thinking about. For example, you're in a relationship and one of the partners will say, well, he should know that this is what I like, and she should know this is what I like. Do you understand? And our first guest talked about how you can build the moment. You can gradually build up the moment. And he talked about, by doing that, the partner should know that, oh, okay, this man is doing all this nice things, cleaning the house, doing the chores, and, doing all these things. So he's setting himself up for later on. But what if the other person doesn't get it, or the other person at that particular time is not really in the mood for all that? Okay, my question has always been, and will always be, my question is, why couples should be able to have this conversation? So listen, I'm feeling really horny today. I really, that they should be able to at least hug each other, talk, just have a laugh, and then either the partner would, get off, man, and then now when you're having nothing for you today or whatever, but at least that signal has been established. So rather than you going for the whole day miserable, or the other couple going for the whole day miserable because you've been rejected, is that the right word to use? Or because the other partner is not ready, there has to be a point where if you are in a relationship with somebody, that you should be able to have an open conversation about your sexual life. Otherwise, you're going to get frustrated. you should be able to not get so disgruntled and so angry the next morning. You cheesed off for the next 1 week because when you got to bed you got to bed late, nothing happened. This conversation should have been going on, excuse me, before you got to bed at late. Before you got to that point, there should be a conversation. There should be a loving conversation and a loving, it just saves you all the headache of getting all stressed out. Well, maybe when you get to bed or when you sit down, whatever, and the other partner says, "Nah, I'm not in the mood." Saves you all that stress. Just have the conversation. Just mention something. Just then have a pattern and a discussion, and make it fun. And I talked about the fact that where you have one person who compares their relationship, who talks about the previous relationship with their current partner. I mean, there's nothing worse that you can ever say, especially you say that to a man. We men we're just built with pride. It's just a thing that comes with men. And you telling your current partner how you used to make love to your ex, that is disastrous. Don't ever say that. That is not funny in any way. It's not a good conversation to have. You're just setting yourself up and setting your relation. You're building the foundation you're building your relationship on a wrong foundation, because you're putting that other person under pressure. That other person is always thinking about, oh, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? Your expectations for this person, you're with this person. Build what you can with this person and enjoy the best that you can and make it fun. Like what Josephine was saying, to make it fun. You can there's a lot of medical help that you can get, psychologically, mentally, physically. There's a lot of things we can do these days. There's a lot of tablets out there that you can go get a prescription for that can help your sex life. The long and short of this conversation is there are so many marriages and relationships that have broken up because they don't have this conversation about their sex life. Okay, I think I'm talking to the fantastic lady Alona from Italy. I'll be calling Alona next. There are so many relationships that break up because people just don't talk about it. They just keep quiet and they presume that it's just going to disappear and go away. No, you need to have these conversations. You need to be able to tell your partner or whoever you're with, what challenges that you're going through. That way, you're able to resolve yourself a lot of stress, and your home gets stronger. Well, that's what I think. Who am I? I don't know that much. My name is Ronnie Jacobs. We have an amazing show today, so I'm gonna give this lady a call from Rome. I'm calling Alona in Rome, and let's hear her. Let's get going. Okay, it's ringing, so let's pray that it all connects, and then we'll continue with this conversation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Alona. You're live on air. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, and the family is fine. We are now 2 months going on this quarantine, but we are so happy together with family, and of course, developing our relationship with one another, especially with my husband.
For 2 months in the same house. Oh my God.
Yes, it's not easy because sometimes on this we are not in the vacation, right?
Yes.
So we are in the quarantine, so it's a different thing. So
Mm.
what we do together now is because I'm a mother of two boys, 25 years old and 20 years old. So it's a different thing now that we are all together in house, and but we are enjoying. We discover things now together that we don't do this before because every day we are rushing in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
You just wake up 6 a.m. and then rushing, then you will meet at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So now we appreciate the time.
Yeah.
There is no alarm clock. we don't use to eat we cook together, we laugh together, we joke, and so we are not in the comfort zone that before.
Fantastic,
It's not.
fantastic. Okay,
Yeah,
tell our
yeah, yeah,
viewers a
really
little
better.
bit about you. Sorry to interrupt. Just to let our viewers know a little bit about Alona, please.
Yes, I'm a mother of two. I told you before, and now we are in 28 years of our marriage. And I'm a caregiver, and at the same time, I'm a working mom. I'm happy as a event organizer here in Rome.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Today we're talking about
Yes,
how couples. You're 28 years in marriage, so you should be able to give us a very good counseling. So,
yes,
how should couples discuss sex issues? How can they deal with
yes,
sex issues?
yes. Because we got married. I'm 23 years old, and my husband is 24. So on this span of time, we grew together physically, emotionally, mental, and spiritual. So everything now is so easy on our communication. Just like I told you a while ago,
Mm,
now we're having more fun together. Just imagine before I hate watching movie, or it's killing time for me
mm,
watching a film, two
mm,
films,
mm,
and then I found out I'm joining my husband on this in television watching for 2 hours. So uh, I appreciate it. I appreciate this time together that I need to rediscover, and I need more to I need to listen also on my husband's uh, what do you call this, on his needs and
mm,
everything. We
mm,
discuss everything now
mm,
under the sun, but I know his moods also
mm,
sometimes. Before on our days, we are not no longer on the honeymoon stage. We are
mm,
not no longer on
mm,
this kids times, no. So we are now matured. So what we do, I know his language when we talk about sex.
mm,
Sometimes I know his language.
mm.
Sometimes he cook every morning. He prepare a breakfast, and then with my kids, and then I know his language if he
Mm,
wants to caress the as a mother, as
mm,
a wife.
mm,
And of course, as a wife, because 28 years, I know his moves. So I need to get on with it, and I love my husband, and we are already on this process. We matured now enough to discuss so many things,
mm, mm,
and of course, this quarantine, like for instance, there are some moods, like for instance, that I know that sometimes he's quiet.
mm,
So we talk about it also.
mm,
We talk why his mood's like that, about
mm,
the
mm,
problems in the
mm,
work,
mm.
about the bills. But this this also is a part of the day.
Yeah.
We discuss on this, but we will not stick on that situation, on that mood. We
Mm,
break it.
mm.
Uh,
However,
uh,
sorry to interrupt you. It is
yes,
difficult for some couples to have this conversation that you to have this because you can have one partner who's at the beginning of the day they're caressing, they're taking care of the house, and they're doing all these things,
yes, yes,
but
yes,
the
yes.
wife does not respond, and then the other partner gets really angry.
Yes, that's the important thing that they need to talk about it, the openness. They need to talk maybe what are the reason why the moods of the wives is like that, because it's not easy, wives, and then you are a mother, and then you are working, and then you are also dealing with other things.
Mm,
So as a wife, so all this will fall on your moods. It will break your mood. So maybe communication is there, the openness of one couple,
mm,
these things you
mm,
need, but you don't need to be shy, because on your marriage you are both benefit on it.
yeah.
So I think if you love your couple, you will discuss on many things that you will not it will not destroy. It will add more colorful on your
On your
relationship, I think.
relationship. Yeah. So we
Yes,
talked
yes.
about comparing relationships, comparing sexual relationships with previous partners, and what's your take on that?
I don't think you don't need to compare because just I told you before, me and my husband 28 years of marriage, so we
Mm,
are not that matured, but we take some points, maybe I told you
yeah.
rediscovering to add some spicy or add more colors to your I mean rediscovering. It's not
Mm,
comparing maybe, but
mm,
you need to add some to also some that your partner will be satisfied maybe. That's
yeah.
on my point of view.
It's a good point. I mean, you've raised some very good point because of your time in your relationship. You've learned to understand each other, and
Yes.
but what is the what kind of problems could arise if one person is not pleasing the other and they keep quiet?
Maybe when you get married or when you get into a relationship, I know you have a same goal. And if you will meet this goal, you are both happy, vice versa. And it's not, you don't need to think about yourself. You need also to think about your partner.
Mm,
So if you think it will please him or it will add on your relationship, it will more grow your relationship, then why not doing it together? I mean, pleasingly, you will both together happy and it will grow your relationship and
mm,
your family.
mm,
It see that the children will also see that they will feel that the parents are they are uh, they are both happy on their marriage. So I think openness to one another,
mm.
it will be helpful.
Okay, and another question, and is there an average number of times a week or a month that couples should make love to one another?
I don't know, but it's different when you are young, right?
Mm,
It's different when you are on the honeymoon stage
mm.
or in this first 5 years maybe. But now on the 28, it became matured, and
Yeah.
I know already when my husband needs me,
Mm,
my caress, the passion,
mm, mm,
because and that's all. Maybe the communication number one, and then the passion maybe once a week. Yes, it will not. It will help
mm,
on your health also. It will add some maybe yes. Your on this time of crisis, maybe it will add some. It will help. It will
mm,
help if you
mm,
will add this passion on your schedule at least on this week.
mm, mm.
Yes, that's true.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. So it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show. And I want to say a big thank you for
Thank you.
supporting
Thank you.
our charity event in Rome. We're looking forward to
Yes.
next year. I mean, this year is going to be hard now because of the crisis, but hopefully, definitely
Yes,
next year.
yes. Yes, yes. Thank you very much. And I've learned a lot to your conversation. Yes, the love language before that they mentioned. They are all true. And every couple, they have some experiences that very exciting, different situation, and they will help you think you can add on your relationship. Why not? And discovering it's not yet too late, right?
Mm. Amazing. Thank you so much,
Okay, thank
Alona.
you.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, that was a lovely, lovely Alona, all the way from Rome. She's an event organizer, and it's always a pleasure, a pleasure, a pleasure talking to you, and it's amazing. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our next guest. We are on a fast train today, and I'm loving it. getting really educated. I think I'm going to, at the end of the show, I'm going to write down the 5 notes that Claire talked about, so that we can, so you can access it if you want later on. So now we're going on the food train. Now we're talking to Agnes, and today we're talking about how couples should have an open conversation about sex. It should no longer, we're trying to educate ourselves that it should no longer be a taboo. That listen, mate, you can't talk about this, and there are ways to talk about these things, and there are ways that makes it easier and less stressful for both couples, to avoid the stress, to avoid all the pain and breaking up your home, and one person is ready and the other one's not ready.
Hello.
Hi, Agnes. How are you? You're live on air. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning at 50.
That is excellent. We're always learning, no matter how old or young we are.
That's it. Tell us about you before we crack on, please.
Oh, I think everybody probably knows me by now.
Yeah, they do. For our new viewers.
I'm a mother of two-year-old, and I've been married for 5 years and been with my husband for 9 years. And I'll be honest, it's still, for me, it's a magical phase in my life. That's all I can say.
Fantastic. Today we're talking. Yeah, go on.
Yes, I've actually some notes. I had a discussion with my husband, so it's a joint discussion from us.
Okay.
And I have made notes of the 4 or 5 questions you've had. So if you'd like me to whiz away, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, just whiz away.
Okay, so regarding intimacy issues, honestly, just say, even if it's painful to you or your partner, and if the issue is not out in the open and known, how can one correct the issue effectively? Not just listening, but hearing. Not just understanding, but patience and steadiness of emotions. Communicate straight up. Take responsibility for your actions and have affected the situation, and just let go and grow together.
Okay.
How does that sound? That's for intimacy issues. And discussion on sexual problems.
Mm-hmm.
If the problem is a matter of taste, that is different, like positions or ways to satisfaction, or the attitudes towards what love in sex is, then discuss, understand, and adapt by understanding and finding ways to satisfy your partner in ways they are intimately satisfied. No means no, I don't like this, or yes, I'll try means slow and tender, without selfishness or force. This subject is, again, it is at its core about intimacy, together as we are 24/7. You can say, for example, we talk around the kitchen sink 24/7, so it's the same principle.
Question. I've got a question there. Before you go to the third one, I've got a question there. In some cultures, and in some, because we've had different cultures on air today, so because it is just not acceptable for a woman to say to the man that she would like oral sex, and they bring that culture to the Western culture, and then they continue that same culture. How do you break that barrier?
I don't think it's so much breaking the barrier. I think it's a mutual understanding with your husband or your partner or the person you're spending the rest of your lives with. And yes, there are differences in culture. I totally agree. From my background, my husband is white American, so it's a whole different perspective there. But if you go towards East Asia, etc., it is a taboo. But again, in this modern day and age, it is accepted, and it's so open that they are able to discuss this. They are.
So it goes back again to the openness and having an open conversation with a person that is you're supposed to be your love for the rest of your life, basically.
Yes. Absolutely.
Should they have this conversation before they tie the knots?
Oh, God. Well, it depends. I mean, if it's an arranged marriage, I mean, how far can you have a discussion?
That's another problem.
And if it's a love marriage, and usually you tend to get to know the person. So it really depends on the circumstances of how far you are into your relationship.
Okay, I'll let you go to the next point.
Regarding the disgruntled, well, basically, the way my husband and I said is put it on the table, honestly, listen, hear, understand, and look at it from their feeling situation. So, for example, if they're overworked, tired, or, just the ways of they are in relationship, change the ways in accordance. So, for instance, for my example, we have a new baby. I mean, it's not as active as it used to be, but I think it's the opportunity. So it depends. I mean, if you have kids or if you don't, you just have to play it as you go along, because intimacy is not just the key thing, sharing a bed. It's the love, the affection you have day to day in your day lives. So there's a whole of those that you need to put in the bucket.
Okay. I'll take that on board. That's really well put. Well put. The next one.
At the end, it's all about feelings, emotional honesty, understanding, patience, adapting, and loving. And finally, respect, and trust.
So what about the comparison? Have you got
okay, this is a funny one. So my husband and I, we said, only as asked and towards understanding each other. If you're actively comparing, then ask yourself, why are you, when you're with your partner, present partner, what is the problem underneath at that moment? Because the thing is, if you don't discuss it with your partner, how will you know, or how will they know? So you can make adjustment, changes, or improve, or ways to make things better. Because if you don't talk about it, there'll always be that solid coldness there. It will be. And I'll be honest with you, from this day and age, I have never felt so open as I have with my husband, and it's absolutely magical. And that's the best way. Just be open to each other.
It's hard for people to talk about this, you know. It may be as easy for you, but it is hard for a lot of couples to even have this conversation.
I agree. I know people. Yes, I totally agree. So it's making the effort. It's putting that effort and slowly work your way up to it. Because if you don't know how to satisfy each other's needs in any form and shape, how will one know?
That's a good question.
And it's true, I've never been so open about this situation with my previous past as I have been with my husband. So I think it really depends on the individuals again, going back to our previous conversation. So you really have to trust the person. And if that person is willing to make changes and help you to help yourself to have those kind of feelings.
Okay, now the question that's coming up now is what is a reasonable frequency? What is too much? I mean, you're asking for too much all the time, or you never touch me, you never want me at all. So which one? What's the balance?
I would never say there's too much or too little. I think it's about making the effort to both come to arrangement where it's suitable for both of you, i.e. maybe it's a young mother, or the father's busy. I think there's no time limits on how many or how often. But for healthy, I think
three times
once
a day?
a week.
Three times a day? It's not too much?
Oh, that's when you're in the honeymoon period. Absolutely. Maybe 5 times a day. I mean, you're just close behind doors, right?
After 10 years, and that starts to go down a bit.
No, I've been with my husband for almost 10 years, and for us, it still feels like we're in a new relationship, because you know why? We think about it. We really do think how we take the next step forward, what to do, what not to do. So I think it's very important how you think about situations, especially when you're about to have a discussion with your husband. And again, going back to our previous discussion, you treat your partner the way you want to be treated, because it will just balance and bounce back.
Always a pleasure talking to you, man. Come on. All this. I've got to get you and your husband on, what's his name?
Randall,
if you're watching, I'm definitely going to get 2 of you on air next week, so that we can
Please do. What would be the topic? I think you wouldn't give it away just yet.
No, we wouldn't give it away just yet.
But you know what? Underneath it all, again, it's about trust, respect, loyalty, decency. Because once you have all of those, the intimacy becomes so easy and so open. There's no limit to it.
Point taken. Thank you so much for this conversation. Always a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I'll speak to you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. What an amazing set of people. Today we've had a great conversation, and next we got our final caller. We're going to call Mr. Chris, who to give us a roundup and his take on the subject. But before we do that, we still have 1 minute more. Wow, time just flies when you're having fun, eh? We're talking about sex today. we're talking about how should you communicate that with your partner? Can this conversation be, how can you start this conversation to make your life better? To relieve you of all the stress, to stop all the assumptions, to get a better understanding of one another. Never compare your relationships. It's a killer. I'll say that is just don't ever. If you're doing it again, just go and apologize to your partner and try and overcome that. Okay? All right, let's give Mr. Chris a call, and then we can then learn a lot more. Oh, this is one amazing. There you go. Fantastic. Thank you all for supporting the Ronnie J Show. I hope you're enjoying it. You can leave your comments, and then we can take your. Hopefully, I'll take your comments in the bottom, and then we can drive on. Hello, Mr. Chris. Hello. You're live on air. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I am buzzing as usual. Always a pleasure to have you. Please tell our audience a bit about you before we start.
All right. Yet again, I'm thankful for this platform, and we appreciate what you're doing. My name is Chris Adeoye. I pastor a church back in London. I'm a publisher, I'm a consultant, with many other things that I do.
Amazing. And you're married with kids? Let's not forget that.
Yes, I am. Happily married with three wonderful children.
Amazing. Okay, we're talking today about how couples could deal with sex issues.
Yes.
So what's your introduction on this topic first, before we go deeper?
All right. My candid view is that on the subject of intimacy, we again, as we started some weeks ago, we are talking about two people,
correct,
that are in love. And so when we talk about intimacy, these two people that are in love come together into, and they have they have sexual relationship, they have intimacy.
Yeah.
So for me, it's what has been kind of like, programming to us as male and female, and it's there for us to enjoy. It's the channel with which we have children, and afterwards we come together and we have that intimacy. So as far as I am concerned, it's not a scripted thing in a relationship. It's not a scripted thing in any relationship. It should just flow. And that's what I want to add to what the other wonderful people have said. That I don't believe that it should be scripted. I don't believe that we need to say, okay, we are going to do it on Monday, on Tuesday. Maybe some people may fall into that category based on their schedule. But I feel that it should just be something that should just flow. In love, we see each other, we are sexually attracted to each other, and then we make it happen. And so that's the first thing that I'm going to say.
Okay, what difficulties can it cause? Can sexual problems cause in a relationship if it's not trashed out?
All right. I looked at this in the message you sent, and I sat down and I was writing some things out. And the first thing I wrote down is that regarding issues of intimacy in a relationship, there are two people involved, the male and the female.
Yeah.
So everyone is different. Every relationship is different. Every individual is different. Then the other thing that I wrote down is that when did the issue start? Did it start along the way? Has he always been there? So it could be one of several things. So the key thing is, what issue are we talking about? And when exactly did the issue start? For example, there are people that have issues of someone is always on the hot. if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas the other person is not so well disposed. Someone
I don't
is
understand.
highly sexual.
It's like
maybe one of the male all the people is very active, very sexual, whereas the other person, is not really keen. Whereas someone is always wants to be on the go. So that can cause an issue. And I've met with people, I know of people that have gone through or are going through that. That someone is very active and the other person is just not keen. So psychologically, the other question is, it could be one of several things as well. Some people had abusive upbringing, and that affected their disposition towards a male or a female.
Correct.
In my experience of counseling people, I've found that out, that the person that is not, sexually active may have been abused when they were young.
Yeah.
And so the very sight of, the sight of intimacy time kind of like throw the person off balance. So it depends really what the issue is with any specific individual.
I take that just to touch on that point. When you have a situation whereby one person is very active and the other person is got this issues, how would you advise they deal with that kind of situation?
Intimacy is very important to any relationship. Extremely important.
Yeah.
If it's not there, there will be a strain on the relationship. There will be a strain. There will be a strain. There will be a strain. So, the best way to talk, to deal with it, I would say it's communication. Now, we also know that communication can be verbal.
Yeah.
Communication can be direct or indirect. I've spoken to some people that I've sat down with couples and someone said, "Oh, she's always nagging. She's always on my case," and vice versa. And that, I can't deal with the nagging. I can't deal with the way, he talks. I can't deal with the way she goes about it, that I'm a non-performer. I've had it all, and this can cause a strain. And the other person say, "You know what? Because of the constant nagging, I'm not even interested. I want to try, but, the way she goes about it, the way he goes about it, I don't even want to try." So communication is important. If the other party is not really disposed, it could be one or two other things. It could be an economic challenge. It could be a psychological challenge. It could be, I know that the male or the female, I've seen it happen. A male can get to a point, and they say it's midlife crisis. And at that point, maybe he has so much going on. She has so much going on. She's just had a baby. She's trying to deal with several things. So it could be several things. So it's so important that we try as much as possible to understand these moments.
Yeah.
Because remember what we said earlier on, that perhaps when we were courting and when we first got into the relationship, we were like, we were just all over each other. We could have it 10 times a day, But along the way, let's be realistic. We get older. Our responsibilities change.
Correct.
Things happen. With children's come into play. Even in this season of lockdown, can I be blunt with you?
Of course.
That, you want to make out sometimes what everybody's at home.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
Exactly. So different things come into play.
Yeah.
That we have to be, realistic, and we have to be accommodating. And all of these things, we need to factor them into our relationship so that we don't put unnecessary strain on each other.
Okay.
Someone works very long shift.
Yeah.
Very long shift trying to provide for the family. The other partner must appreciate all this as well.
On the issue of what if one partner is comparing the sexual relationship to others? What's your take on that?
In fact, for me, this is the most important question that you're posing to all of us today. And I say that because one major no in relationship is comparison. Everyone that is in a relationship that is listening to us now or will get to listen to this wonderful program later, you must do everything possible not to compare your relationship with your sister, your sibling, your brother, your friend, your colleague. You know, we get to a mode where, you know, you're going through so much. You open up to someone at work.
Yeah.
You open up to even your sister, your sibling, and everything. And the other person will say to you, wow, I mean, we are not experiencing that. Everything is just good. You know, we are just having a blast and all that. And it makes the person feel, what is wrong with me? So we must be very careful not to compare our relationships. It's toxic. Every relationship is different. That person that is telling you that, oh, we have it going on well, we have it going on good, maybe a few months down, maybe a few months before, it wasn't like that for them. Maybe after you speak to them, maybe a few months to come, it may not be like that. You know, so the fact that it's a blast for them now doesn't mean that it's always been like that or will always be like that. So every relationship is different. So we should avoid comparing. What we should do is to make sure we do everything possible to effect a change or to find a solution. If it's with the male, so what can we do? You know, how can we help to make sure that the person is not overly pressured? And then we find the best format of communication to effect a change in our relationships.
But that's the core of the question, though. What is this format of communication? Because from one or two of the guests that spoken, there's tradition involved, there's culture involved, there's how you've been brought up. There's
Exactly.
Like Claire was saying that her parents never showed this openness when it comes to that particular topic. So she didn't kind of grow up knowing how to even have this kind of conversation.
Exactly. One thing that I've said and one thing that I know and one thing that I share is the fact that in a relationship, there's so many things that come into relationships. The list is endless. I believe personally that when we get into a relationship, it's more so like we're even in a school. I believe sincerely that in a relationship, we're learning every day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're learning every day. Because the way it works when it was just two of us, when we're in a relationship, we had no seeming big responsibility within. There was no in-laws, there was no children involved.
Yeah.
That was a different season. But right now, it's a different ballgame. We have businesses that we need to run. We have things we need to deal with. We have staff we need to deal with. We have children we need to deal with too. There's so many things in the picture now that has completely changed the way things used to be. So in every relationship, I believe that each individual in the relationship must always evolve with the time that they find themselves and the situations around them. And that would inform how we communicate. We learn every day. I must learn. I must see how things are with you. If the fact that you've changed now doesn't mean that, so he's changed now. He's not the way he used to be before. He doesn't touch me anymore. That doesn't mean that the person doesn't love you. There's so many things that may be going on. There's so many things that may have changed that you also need to respond to that in your own mannerism, in your own, how you show that you understand, that you are not insensitive. You need to, every couple must learn that. You must learn that and that should inform the way you now communicate.
Fantastic, Chris. It's always a pleasure hearing from you. Do you want to round up? Do you have a summary of what you want to say?
All right. I would just say in closing for this particular episode that every relationship is unique. Every relationship is different. And I want to say to each couple that you may be going through issues in your love life, intimacy. I just want to say to you that, look around you. as opposed to just going all out and you're sad, you're pressured, you're worried. The next thing you need to think about is, how can things change? What can I do as opposed to what the other person is not doing? What can I do to help the situation? What do I need to do to spice up the relationship? Have I also changed? The thing that the person found attractive in me before, is that thing still there? Is that thing not there again? And many people will knock on the door and say, oh, but you're not telling me anything. If the person is not saying something, then you also look inward, look at yourself. And these are all the things that, we can't talk about within 10 minutes. So that will just be my closing statement that, what, let everybody continue to learn in their relationship. Yeah. Let everybody continue to grow in their relationship. Let everyone continue to give into that relationship, sacrifice into that relationship, be sensitive, be understanding, and all these things will help.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure, and good luck with your fantastic show seasons.
Thank you so much.
I hope it goes well, and I've seen a couple of shows, and you're doing really well. So proud of you.
Sir.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Same here. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Too. Thank you. Wow, what an amazing show. I always say, funny how time flies when you're having love, when you're making love. So that's the word today. Funny how time flies when you're making love. Funny how time flies when you're having fun. So we're educating ourselves today. We've had a great time. We've had some amazing guests. We've had Clare, we have Tunde Bella, we have Agnes, we've had Chris, we have Josephine, and we tried to get to Aderonke, although she did tell me that she's got a community work today, that she's going to try to make time. So fantastic. Today we talked about how should couple have this conversation about sex. If you're having problems, communicate. If it's not working, communicate. If it's working, communicate. If you need it to work, communicate. Everything that we talked about today just revolved around communication. Don't presume or assume that, oh, this person's going to know X, Y, Z. They're going to know I'm ready. They're going to know I'm satisfied. They're going to know I enjoy it. They're going to know I don't enjoy it. It's about communication. The more we communicate, the more we can make our relationship stronger. That's just what it is. If you find out most of the time that these problems arrive, it's because of lack of communication. And then you have the second part, lack of understanding. All the guests talked about communication. Everyone talked about understanding. I understand you, you understand me. So because we understand each other and love each other, we're able to work out what we're communicating to make it better. I love you all so much, and I want to thank you for the support of the Ronnie J Show. Please share and like, and also go to our YouTube channel and share. And whatever you're watching around the world, on television or online, please make your home stronger. Make your relationship stronger. I always say to people that if the foundation of your home is strong, it is easier for you to execute projects because your mind is clear. Your work is clear. Your dream will be clearer. But if you've got a very difficult home and you're always fighting and struggling at home because of this lack of sex, it becomes difficult for you to focus on your vision. I love you all so much, and this is Ronnie Jacobs saying, one love. And don't forget, I always say, don't let anyone tell you you cannot achieve your dream. Never let anyone tell you you're not good enough. You made a mistake last time, but there's a time and season for everything. Don't worry about the mistake. Focus on where you're going, and it shall get better. I love you all so much, and one love.